Hello guys, you are all welcome back to Joen Academy. In the previous video on neuroanatomy, we were able to introduce the brainstem. We said that the brainstem is made up of three basic parts which include the midbrain, the pons, and medulla oblongata. In this video, we'll be taking a good look at the pons. The pons is the middle part of the brainstem. It measures about 2.5 cm in length in adults and also serves as a connection between the midbrain and the medulla oblongata. This is the reason for its name because the word pons originates from Latin word meaning bridge. The pons has two surfaces. We have the ventral surface and the dorsal surface. The ventral surface means the front surface while the dorsal surface means the back. These terms are also known as the anterior and the posterior surface respectively. However, for some certain parts of the body, the use of ventral and dorsal differ from the standard definition. So for clarity purpose, just know that ventral surface means front, while dorsal surface means back. Let us first of all take a close look at the ventral surface or the anterior surface of the pons. The ventral surface of the pons is convex and it shows many transverse of fibers. These fibers all come together on each side of the pons to form the middle cerebellar peduncle. In the midline of the pons, we can see a ventral groove that is not too deep. This groove is actually a shallow one. It is called the basilar sulcus. The reason for this name is simply because it contains the basilar artery. It is actually through this groove, the basilar sulcus, that the basilar artery passes. Don't forget we are still talking about the ventral surface of the pons. The cranial nerve 5, which is called the trigeminal nerve, is attached at the junction between the pons and the middle cerebellar peduncle. This trigeminal nerve has two roots. The first root is a smaller motor root, that is for transmitting of motor impulse, while the second root is a larger sensory root, which is for conveying sensory signals. This actually makes the trigeminal nerve both sensory and motor cranial nerve. The other cranial nerves that is found around the ventral surface of the pons are the abducens nerve, which is the cranial nerve 6, the facial nerve, which is the cranial nerve 7, and also the vestibulocochlear nerve, which is the cranial nerve 8. They are all attached at the junction between the pons and the medulla oblongata. Now let's have a look at the posterior or the dorsal surface of the pons. The posterior surface of the pons is actually covered by the cerebellum. So it is until the cerebellum is removed, that is actually when we will be able to have full access to the posterior surface of the pons. The posterior surface of the pons actually forms the upper half of the floor of the fourth ventricle. The fourth ventricle is responsible for receiving cerebrospinal fluid from the midbrain aqueduct of Sylvius. So it plays an important role in protecting the brain through cushioning effect that is provided by the cerebrospinal fluid. The shape of this upper half of the floor of the fourth ventricle is triangular. At the lateral part of the pons, we will see the middle cerebellar peduncles. The posterior surface of the pons is divided into two equal halves by median sulcus. Median eminence lies lateral to this median sulcus, and the sulcus limitant lies lateral to the median eminence. The lower part of the median eminence, that is the inferior end of the median eminence, expand to form the facial colliculus. The facial colliculus actually houses the abscent nucleus and the facial motor fibers. The superior part of the sulcus limitant is the substantia ferruginea. It is just an underlying part of deeply pigmented nerve cells. So these nerve cells give the locus coeruleus its bluish-gray color. Then lateral to the sulcus limitant is the area vestibuli, or you just call it the vestibular area. It is called the area vestibuli or the vestibular area because it overlies the vestibular nuclei. Alright guys, that is it on the external surface of the pons. In the next video, we'll talk about the internal surface of the pons. Support Joen Academy in any way possible to encourage more interesting videos like this. Subscribe and also share. See you next time. God got you always.